violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. But I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, YouTube? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe, and let's get into the video.
School. Oh, at it again. A lot of Philly schools are going virtual this morning, Karen.
That certainly is a challenge for all the parents and the families. Let's get over to
Karen? I bet they're having a field day with her. I bet they having a field day with her.
headquarters and Shayna.
Good morning, that's right. The Philadelphia School District announced just yesterday that dozens more schools have been added to the virtual list because of those COVID-19 staffing shortages. All of it now, the second week of January, we have 91 schools that are virtual. As you mentioned, that was plus 33 as of just yesterday. Teachers.
Man, you can just see the liberals' agenda to empty out the schools, de-educate the population, and just unleash mayhem into the streets. These cities that are having high crime, they're experiments, if you will. It's like they're testing to see what combination of events can really, send a whole city off the cliff. Closing down these schools and going to virtual learning is going to destroy the community. It's about to be obliterated. It's about to be obliterated because these young dudes, they mamas is out here in the streets, probably getting high. They daddies are nowhere to be found. And they finna go to the streets or under the bridge and evolve, or devolve rather, into super gremlins.
Are still expected to report to work in person unless they're isolating due to COVID. Nearly 85% of Philadelphia School District employees are vaccinated against COVID, according to district officials, but they also claim to have these numerous layers of safety in place that we've been talking about for months, like mandatory masking, hand washing, and air purifiers. But still, even with all of that, when it comes to Omicron, the school district is saying that this is the safest option. This is the safest option to keep kids safe, and of course to keep them learning, and that is to keep them home. In a statement from.
But the problem is, a lot of these kids are not going to be learning. If you're a kid and you can't even pay attention in class, or some of these kids, they're not even showing up to class. They just pulling up to school and gassing up in the bathroom. Skipping class, talking to girls, whatnot. ISS. So they're not even going to class. What makes you think you're finna get them on a computer when they're literally at home? They have the option to just go outside and, do hood rat shit with their friends.
Philadelphia School District Superintendent Dr. William Haidt. He says, in part, quote, "The Omicron surge continues to impact staffing in our schools and central offices. We'll continue to keep as many of our school buildings open as consistently as possible, as long as we're confident that we can maintain safe and orderly school operations. We appreciate your patience and understanding as we continually review data to identify any schools where we will need to temporarily shift to virtual learning in the best interests of students and staff." Now, we do have a full list for you in terms of the schools that are shifting to virtual learning on our website, fox29.com. We also do have a list that talks about just the areas that folks can go, that kids can go to get school lunch. The district is still offering that option. Again, we have all of it on our website.
Oh, wow. So you don't have to go to class, but you come to lunch?
fox29.com, guys.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Shayna. 6:36.
Is arrested in the deadly shooting of a 14-year-old in Philadelphia. Hanif Robertson was taken into custody in Georgia. On November 29th, Samuel Jefferson was waiting for a bus in the city's Feltonville neighborhood.
Wow. So remember we covered this story. They let off like 20 plus shots at this young brother Samuel Jefferson. And they find the guy in Georgia. They find this guy in Georgia, the suspect.
When a group of men got out of a car and started firing, Samir was shot at least 18 times.
And this actually brings up a really interesting point. If the killers can just up and leave and go to Georgia, literally go like, I don't know how far it is, maybe 15, 20 hours south. I'm thinking like, is this really a poverty problem? Like, he has the ability to travel 20 hours. I don't know how he did it, but he comes down south and he got room and board. Like, he's straight. He don't pay no rent, but he got somebody to stay with. So we keep blaming, oh, well, these guys are shooting it up because it's poverty. Can't be. Can't be.
Kadir Johnson and Kyer Garnett are all.
It's proximity. Proximity. But the same dude who did that in Philly would have went to Georgia and did the same thing if he got in beef with somebody else. So he has a range of havoc that, you know, he's able to inflict, and it's just like, when are we gonna call a spade and a super gremlin a super gremlin?
Also charged with the teenager's murder.
Philadelphia police say a third suspect wanted in the murder of 14-year-old Samuel Jefferson is now in custody. Police in Oakwood, Georgia arrested Hanif Roberson. He's now in the process of being extradited.
And everybody in Philly got these like quasi-Arab, I guess, black Muslim names. The Hotep name. My man's bottom lip is, it looked like his joint got stung by a bee. But this is your killer, man. These are your killers, bruh. Super Gremlin at its finest, man.
Hanif Roberson. He's now in the process of being extradited to Philadelphia. 2 other men were arrested last month for the child's murder. Jefferson was gunned down while waiting for a bus after school last November in the city's Hunting Park section.
Breaking overnight, a home health care worker shoots a man who pulled a gun on him in North Philadelphia. Police say it happened along Folsom Street just before midnight. Officers say the victim was getting ready to take care of a patient when a man walked up to his car, pulled out a gun, and pointed it at him.
So everybody in Philly is, it looks like people are fighting back. Not everybody is armed, I would say, but people are fighting back. They are not going. They know it's a bloodbath. They know that the DA didn't want to say initially that it was, you know, there was a problem with crime, but the people have woken up and they're fighting back and they're shooting back. And I would like to see some of these, you know, civilians catch bodies over these super gremlins. No cap. I really do, because I don't think they're going to learn their lesson until they realize that everybody that you try is going to body you.
Well, police say that's when the victim pulled out his own gun and shot at the suspect.
While investigating the scene, we were notified that a shooting victim showed up at Presbyterian Hospital by private auto, and that shooting victim was shot in the face and upper chest area. He is in stable condition.
Detectives believe that the shooting victim is the suspect who approached the victim at his car. Investigators are reviewing security camera footage from that area.
Care worker just trying to go to work shoots an attempted robber. Let's get out to Steve Keely.
Well, my man Steve Keely is on the move. I mean, this guy, he works super hard, man. He's working his ass off out there in Philly, man. Working his ass off.
This was one of the most violent nights in the past year. We have at least 4 people murdered, in the scope of about 2 hours, and it could be 6 people murdered because 2 of the people shot several times.
4 people murdered in the past 2 hours, and you got 2 in critical condition,
including a 63-year-old woman who stepped outside of a bar, Ralph's Pub, where we had a shooting of 3 people inside the bar just a month ago. She steps outside to smoke a cigarette, and she shot at 14 times. So she was barely alive, according to a detective I talked to, including another person who was shot first among 2 people shot before the 4 people were shot and killed. One of those shot and killed last night was hit 32 times. A person with him shot and killed 14 times. So 46 shots to kill 2 people.
Wow. This is embarrassing, man. These super gremlins are just... It's embarrassing. It's really just... Woo. That's crazy. They unload the clip on you. It's like they unload the clip, then reload, then... You know what I mean?
And then this scene right before midnight capped off the ultra-violent night. And this is in the Fairmount section, right around 17th Street. And this man is caring for a client who is bound to a wheelchair. And he's going in for his home health care aide shift right at midnight. And as he parks his Honda, an 18-year-old shows up and points a gun, taps the gun muzzle on the window of the car. What he doesn't know is what a lot of robbers and carjackers are finding out. That a lot more people these days are going to get a permit to carry a concealed weapon because of the crime situation that's out of control, especially in Philadelphia.
Yep. We need more resources. We need more police on the streets patrolling, jacking these dudes up, stop and frisk, plainclothes officer, you know, sitting at hotbeds of the crime. We need... They need to throw the whole kitchen sink at Philadelphia.
And this guy draws his gun and fires his gun without even lowering the window. That's why you see his driver's side window shattered. And he hits the guy point blank with at least 5 shots in the face, the neck, and the chest, and the hand.
Well, that's what you get. That is what you get. And I'm proud of this healthcare worker. It takes a lot of bravery. Especially knowing that if you shoot him, there's a possibility that gun can go off that he's holding. And it looks like that healthcare worker got some good aim. So shout out to him, man. He lives to see another day. He's doing a job that takes a lot of patience and that shows your true character, like you really are trying to help people out. And a super gremlin pulls up and tries to jack his car.
The 18-year-old manages to run to his buddy, who dropped him off out of the passenger seat of their carjacked vehicle, and they drive to the other side of town where they're from in West Philadelphia. He drops the 18-year-old off at Penn Presbyterian, then speeds out of the driveway of the emergency entrance. Meanwhile...
Wow. So these dudes just dropping their friends off after, you know, a robbery gone wrong. They dropping their friends off at the hospital and then just taking off. It reminds me, well, it's not quite like that YNW Melly situation, but you know, same instance where their friends are shot and then they take them and drop them off. Only YNW was the one who shot the friend. Yeah, I mean, it's a whole situation.
The home health care aide calls police and says somebody just tried to carjack him.
He was sitting in his car. He was approached by a male who walked up to his vehicle, the driver door, and pointed a gun at him. That's when the 32-year-old pulled his own weapon and fired through his driver door window from the inside. And he shot at the male who pointed a gun at him while he was sitting in his car. And that male ran away on foot westbound on Folsom Street.
And these super gremlins just don't die. Did he say he got shot in the face? Like, he got shot 5 times, 3 times in the face, like here, there. And this man is able to, he's able to run away, sustain the car ride back to West Philadelphia, and get dropped off at the hospital. It's like, they just don't die.
While investigating the scene, we were notified that a shooting victim showed up at Presbyterian Hospital by private auto, and that shooting victim was shot in the face and upper chest area. He is in stable condition.
This man is in stable condition. And people always say, well, you get what you deserve, and you know, you reap what you sow. I mean, yeah, he got shot in the face, but did he die though? I mean, you take that back to the hood, that's a badge of honor. I mean, you a real super gremlin if you, you know, get shot in the face and survive. You come back to the hood, you 50 Cent. So, woo, I think that'll put the battery in his back, because now he don't got no choice but to go fully into the streets. And he'll with the Super Gremlin's logic, now he'll like, man, I ain't even gonna ask him to do nothing. I'm gonna just pull up and shoot him, and that's that. Then take the car and shoot whoever in the car. That's the Super Gremlin's mentality. So that's how the crimes get escalated, because they'll go from robbery to murder so quickly, because they did a robbery, it went bad, they didn't get anything, or they didn't get what they wanted, or they even got retaliated at, and now they're like, oh, I ain't never letting that happen again.
And one detective told me he stupidly admitted, I was shot on Folsom Street, which puts him as the carjacker at the scene of the crime. Plus, they have video from a lot of...
And these Super Gremlins are just dumb. He just admitted to being at the location of the carjacking. But, you know, he might be back out because he was the victim. He's a victim of white supremacy or Super Gremlin supremacy, whatever you want to call it. And he's a victim of this carjacking situation that went wrong.
As the carjacker at the scene of the crime. Plus, they have video from a lot of the people who live over there on Folsom Street. You can understand why they all have surveillance cameras, right? And so, if you look at the video, you'll notice a child safety seat in the back seat of this home health care worker's car. And another reason the detective says for this guy to want protection, because he's driving around a little kid a lot of the time. And remember, Fairmount's not a tough neighborhood, not a bad neighborhood, and still it happened there. So if it happened there, it can happen anywhere, detective warned us.
Listen to what he just said. If it happened there, it can happen anywhere. These Super Gremlins are traveling. I told you, the dude in the last video, he caught a body, then went to Georgia. These Super Gremlins are mobile. They're like nomad Super Gremlins. They no longer just stay up under the bridge. Now they moving in the streets. They moving here, moving there, going to the Galleria, going to the club, going to the bar. They're moving. Gone are the days where the Super Gremlins just stay in the hood. They just staying in the hood and everything happens in the hood. Nah, it's OV.
To tell all our viewers today, because these carjackings are happening so frequently, at least another 4 or 5 overnight since one detective started his shift. Karen?
It's very, very alarming and scary. All right, Steve, thank you.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.